For quite some time, there existed different opinions over the ranking of the Harbingers. So let's talk about the known ranks for now. Tartaglia is the 11th. La Signora is the 8th. Scaramouche is the 6th. The Doctor is the 2nd. The Knave is the 4th. And according to Wanderer's voice lines, Pantalone is the 9th. And Marionette is below Scaramouche, so she's the 7th. And then Pulcinella is the 5th, as stated in Chilled's character story 5. And according to Chilled, Columbina is the 3rd. And Chilled said that the captain is too high to notice him, so he can't be the 10th, but rather the 1st. And finally we're left off with Piero, who shouldn't count among the 11 because, as Chilled said before, Piero was the 1st, but now he's the leader of the Harbingers. This is also backed up with the fact that his title is Director instead of Harbinger like the others. Well, I mean, even the Harbingers are ranked in Wanderer's voice lines. So here's the ranking of the Harbingers. And as you can see, the 10th seat is unknown, which means that there's canonly an unknown 10th Harbinger. So what if it's Crepus, the father of Diluc? Crepus Ragbinder might be the missing 10th Harbinger, due to the following reasons. First of all, Crepus owns a delusion of unknown origins, and he even knows how to use it. And this weapon is not like any ordinary delusion that the fatui soldiers use, as this delusion allows the user to create and manipulate chains. These chains can also be covered in some dark fire, strong enough to suppress beasts like Ursa the Drake, who's been plaguing Mondstadt for 1,000 years, and overpowered Barnabas, who used the power of a dead god. This delusion also emits some dark fire aura. So as you can see, this is no ordinary delusion, and it seems to be some high-quality type. Next, I would like to talk about Diluc's outfit, the Red Dead of Night. It's a ceremonial uniform tailored by Crepus for his son, which was later modified by Diluc. Anyways, his outfit shares so many similarities with the fatui. For instance, the boots got the fatui mask on them. Taking a look at the sleeves, we can see this pattern that can be found on Tartaglia's pants. We also see this design on Diluc's shoulder that is similar to Tartaglia's accessory. Diluc also has a red gem on him, similar to the one Tartaglia and Arlecchino had. Well, speaking of Arlecchino, her outfit is just like a whiter version of Diluc's outfit. They even got the same red orbs on their torso. Next, I'd like to talk about Diluc's mask, which only appeared in the manga, which has part of the fatui symbol on it. So maybe this mask used to belong to his father, if he truly was a Harbinger. Since Piero, some of the Harbingers and all of the other fatui soldiers wear masks. Now let's talk about the fatui constellations. As you can see, there are 11 constellations symbolizing the 11 Harbingers. And as we know, Piero doesn't count among the 11, so he doesn't have a constellation. But we can find a mask on top of the wheel, which should symbolize Piero, since it would make sense for him to be on the top as he's the leader. Plus, the lore of the mocking mask is Piero's speech to the fatui. This artifact looks like the mask on top as they both have tears. Moving on to Capitano, the first Harbinger, his constellation is the 3 nails. The 3 cross nails symbolize the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Jesus is described as a great and perfect man. Meanwhile, Capitano is also highly praised by the fatui. Next is the second Harbinger, the Doctor, and his constellation is the Plague Mask. The Plague Mask is worn by self-proclaimed doctors during the 16th and 17th centuries, same as Daughtery, who is a self-proclaimed doctor. Not only that, but he also has the Plague Mask on his back. Next it's Columbina, the third Harbinger. Columbina means little dove, so it would only make sense for her to have the Crying Dove constellation. Up next we got Arlecchino, the fourth Harbinger, and her constellation would be the Theater Mask. And just like how these masks are two-faced, Arlecchino is too, since she's described as a wolf in sheep clothing, as she seems nice on the outside but crazy on the inside. And as we know, these masks are associated with the theater, and Arlecchino is too, since she was in a theater in the Fontaine animated trailer.
When you're on the stage, you're first and foremost actors.
Then we have the fifth Harbinger, Pulcinella. His constellation is the Helping Hand, also known as the Hopi Hand. It symbolizes healing and protection, which parallels with how he helps Tartaglia's family. This constellation depicts a hand with 5 fingers, which fits Pulcinella being the 5th Harbinger. Next it's Scaramouche, the 6th Harbinger. And his Fatui constellation is literally the exact same as his own constellation. Then after him is Sandrone, the 7th Harbinger. Sandrone is also known as Marionette. A marionette is a puppet that works by strings, so it would make sense for her to have the Marionette constellation. Next is La Signora, the 8th Harbinger. And her constellation is obviously the moth, due to her association with this insect. And let's not forget that her true form looks like a moth, due to the wings and the antennae. Next it's Pantalone, the 9th Harbinger, and we're giving him the Globus Cruciger constellation. The Globus Cruciger is a Christian symbol of authority used on coins. Coins in Genshin are Mora, and Pantalone is obsessed with Mora, and he's the owner of the Northland Bank in Liu. Not only that, but he also wears a ring with that symbol on it. Then we have Tartaglia, the 11th Harbinger with the whale constellation. I think this one is the most obvious since that's literally his normal constellation too. And in one of his attacks, he sends a giant hydro whale. And in the end of the 4th Fontaine Act, Chilled encounters the whale that he was trying to find. And now, after finally knowing all of the constellations of the known Harbingers, we will now talk about Crepus and the remaining constellation. This is known as the Hand of Glory. It's the dried and pickled hand of a felon or a murderer, often specified as being the left hand, and the delusion of Crepus is worn on the left hand. The Hand of Glory is used as a candle. Meanwhile, the delusion emits black fire. The Hand of Glory would make anyone near it motionless, kinda similar to how the delusion can suppress people and beasts with its chains. As we all know, the Harbingers are inspired from the Italian theater, Commedia dell'arte. So if Crepus really was a Harbinger, then what would his Commedia dell'arte name be? A common theory in the community is Brighella. So let's take a look at the few similarities between Brighella and Crepus. They both have facial hair, a white piece of clothing, hidden eyes, and most importantly, they own a tavern. Before Diluc became the current boss of Angel's Share, his father Crepus was the one in charge. And now, after all the proofs and evidence that Crepus might have been a Harbinger, let's move on to why he's not mentioned by the fatui, which could be related to his death. It all started when someone that works for the fatui attached a gadget to the wagon that Crepus and Diluc were using. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Ursa the Drake attacked the wagon. After that, Crepus jumps out and deals with the beast with his delusion. Remember the strange fatui gadget that was attached to their wagon? Well, it started buzzing, which in turn made Ursa go into a berserk mode. And it ran away, but the delusion backfired at Crepus and passed away on Diluc's hands. Sometime after that, Daughtry came and defeated Ursa, which made Mondstadt indebted to the fatui. So don't you find it weird that this incident happened all because of the fatui? Because there was no need to attach that device on the wagon and make Ursa attack them. It's as if this whole thing was planned. The fatui were planning to kill Crepus, which makes me think that Crepus may have betrayed the fatui in some way. That would also explain why the 10th Harbinger was never mentioned by the fatui. It's because Crepus betrayed them and is seen as a traitor. I've also seen some attempts to debunk this theory, such as Crepus dying to the delusion or Crepus being weak. So let me start off by saying that the delusion would always cause negative side effects. It's stated in a loading screen quote. And it's stated in the description of this fatui soldier, meaning that even ordinary fatui suffer from their delusions. Even Traveler warned Tartaglia to be careful when using his electro delusion, implying that even the Harbingers are no exception. Next, it's the fact that people think that Crepus can't be a Harbinger because he was denied from the Favonius, meaning he is weak. Although it's true that Crepus was indeed denied from the Favonius, but the reason for that was unknown. Crepus isn't really weak. He was shown to be experienced with his delusion and was able to take down a dragon that plagued Mondstadt for 1,000 years. Since Varka is the Grand Master, then he was the one who most likely denied Crepus. Crepus and Varka knew each other and were friends. So it's possible that Crepus told Varka his secret, that he was a Harbinger, and if Crepus' identity gets revealed someday, then that would ruin the image of the Favonius to the public. And the knights would lower their regards on Varka because he accepted an enemy among them. So to conclude, Crepus is Brighella, the 10th Harbinger, who betrayed the fatui, went to Mondstadt, hid the Delusion and kept his identity a secret, then started a family and a wine business. Then, on Diluc's 18th birthday, Crepus died because Daughtery planned a surprise attack on him using Ursa. Now, if this was true, then imagine the look on Diluc's face if his father is a Harbinger and his mother was possibly a Hexenzirkel witch.